Who are these people?
I'm Peter Garachi.
I'm Alex Bashera.
They started a podcast.
Why don't you call it Kill You Last?
Yeah.
To honor 80s action movies.
He just put on brand new army pants in the heat.
There will be action.
He is in the middle of a field, surrounded.
More action.
Totally exposed, and he doesn't get hit once.
Tension.
You had, like,
Peter,
as what you did.
I gotta ask you, if you stop hitting the table.
This is the movie that really is the template for the 80s action movie.
Peter Garachi. Alex Bashera. They will kill you last. Podcast.
All right. Yeah, we're doing that from now on.
This is Kill You Last. I'm Peter Garachi.
I'm Alex Bashera.
And that was Vocal from, I believe, Abu Dhabi that reached out to us and actually reached out to us with that trailer already made.
Unreal.
Hey, would you guys like this? And that's from it's funny because it was, that was from the Commando episode, and it was just the 35th anniversary of Commando. This past week. So there was a bunch of stuff on Twitter, and I think I tweeted out something about, crap.
That's okay. Keep going.
There. I tweeted out something about it's the movie that made a template for the 80s action movie, and somebody was like, well, there was actually a movie in Hong Kong, and I'm like,
well, fuck you.
What the fuck?
Hong Kong. What are you talking about?
I mean, there was also other movies, but
yeah, of course.
So take the joy out of everything.
I know. It's crazy.
To this day, every time I see a circular saw blade, though, I think about Arnold launching one into a guy's skull.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you that a movie is important and impactful, I don't know what else does.
I don't know what it. I mean, it's always it bothers me that there's always someone on Twitter that just has to say something that is just contrary or actually, it's just like, how can you dispute that?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. The thing is, it's fun to argue.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But if it's like, if you can't argue with the other person, then that's no fun.
That's true.
Like, I'm willing to argue about any of this.
Oh, you love arguing.
Yeah. But we're doing, we're not going to have guests anymore because everybody died of Corona.
Everyone's dead.
Just kidding. It's a hoax.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wait. Yeah, just kidding. COVID's not real.
Apparently people are upset because the president went to the hospital.
I'm hearing that COVID is actually just like the flu. That's what I've been hearing.
No, it's not, because the flu is contagious.
Oh, that's right. The flu is contagious. Right.
If somebody gets the flu, everyone else they know also gets the flu.
Right. That's true.
And that's not how this one works. But I think we need more lockdowns is what we really need.
Right. I think Bill de Blasio needs to be president. That's what I think.
I don't know. I'm done with New York. I'm in Jersey. I'm hiding in New Jersey right now.
I'm hiding in Jersey as well.
And we're doing a really Jersey Jersey show, I should say. But based on the movie starts. Daniel LaRusso is a Jersey kid.
That's true.
And so we're doing Cobra Kai. I wanted to.
The show, obviously, the show.
It's funny because this has become like this big phenomenon this past couple of months. Cobra Kai, because
it got released on Netflix, right?
Yeah, but it's also, it's funny. I learned this with Kobe's death. Like, there were certain things that like are meaningful to me that I didn't realize how big they were to everybody else. So I didn't know, like, Kobe's my favorite athlete of all time. I had no idea like how many other people were into Kobe. And the same thing, like Karate Kid is my favorite movie of all time. I had no idea until like the last couple months of people talking about Cobra Kai how many other people that Karate Kid was important to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was I started watching it when the first season first came out on YouTube. At YouTube Red, I got like a free subscription so that I could watch the first episodes. I was very reticent. I didn't think it was a good idea. I was like, what the fuck is this? But I have to like check it out.
Right.
This pilot fucking rocks.
Yes,
like
I
this
agree.
is a
it's
kick.
Like really well made.
So I went back and I just watched the season 2 now that it's on Netflix. I finished it a couple weeks ago.
By the way, it just got renewed for
I think it's the #1 streaming thing in the world.
That's crazy.
So season the whole first season is great. Whole second season is great. I'm really high on it. So to go back and rewatch the pilot, like kind of forgetting what the pilot was, I was like, holy like this is like a fucking like a dream idea, because the pilot really is only like Johnny Lawrence.
The pilot episode, yes.
Yeah, which I really like. It's
it was the choice that made the series interesting. I feel like go ahead.
It made me think of like Shane Black is the guy that wrote Lethal Weapon, amongst other things.
Yeah.
You know, he's not happy about the fact that they made a TV show out of Lethal Weapon. And they asked him, they're like, why don't you like TV? He goes, well, like, he's like, I make movies about like characters that I'm interested in. It's usually like a person trying to like overcome something. He goes, if you look at every television advertisement, it's like 15 people like in a V on the poster, and it's always like, you know, they have like the one Asian guy and the light-skinned black girl and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, he's like, I'm not interested in like every story being that. This pilot is literally just about Johnny Lawrence.
Right.
And if they had just done a pilot and said, fuck it, let's just make a 30-minute like one-off, I would have been like, this is fucking awesome.
Totally.
And like, I hadn't really thought about like, oh, yeah, whatever happened to Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso. Like, it's just something, I just love the movies. I watch the movies, but I didn't think about them like in present day. But I thought this was a great way to like update these characters.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it really is such an easy thing to fuck up, to mess up. This pilot could have been, like, for super fans like you of the movie, could have been insulting, could have ruined it for you. And then even for just the casual, like, I've seen it once or twice, it could have been just cheesy and bad. So easily could have been cheesy. They really knocked it out of the park, not just with the idea. I mean, the number one thing is the idea to sort of follow Johnny as the protagonist, set him up as like which it leads to other things, but basically having him in the pilot as the protagonist, that was a huge decision. But then also the production value is very solid. There's a lot of good jokes that are not it's not like hitting you over the head with the joke, but it's just basically showing you this guy he's stuck in the 80s. He's got a Thunderbird still, or whatever that car is.
I think it's a Trans.
Which I think sorry, what was it? The car?
Pontiac Trans Am. I always get those confused. They were all
too.
Like,
you know what I mean. It's the same car. Yeah. And it's great because it's like, not only can a lot of people relate to that, people in their like 40s, you know, I would imagine your age, but maybe even older. But then also people can, like me, can appreciate that joke because it clashes with the modern world. And this guy he's such a bum and so down on his luck. You could just see that his best moments were in high school. And I don't know, I think taking Karate Kid and making it into this sort of dark, like, but still funny, episodic series they really nailed it. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
So it's the guys who they did Harold and Kumar, which is also a very Jersey. Like, they're Jersey guys, and they made Harold and Kumar, and then they made Hot Tub Time Machine, which I think William Zabka's in that. And the funny thing is, I guess apparently Ralph Macchio has not wanted to do, like, he kind of just wanted to get away from it, and he's like done a couple things that have sort of made fun of it. And I'm okay with like just a sprinkling of Ralph Macchio because I want this to be Johnny Lawrence's show. And
the sprinkling of him in this pilot is hilarious. He's such a douche. Like, he's over the top, like bonsai, like karate, chop the prices. Like,
with the kick, like the billboard being a kick with like a leg hanging out.
And his leg is out off the billboard. It's so douchey.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I was a kid, like being an Italian kid from Jersey that got picked on, like I was like, this is the life I wanted. I wanted to find a Japanese maintenance man to mentor me and teach me karate. And then years later, I'm watching this pilot, and like Johnny Lawrence is like working as a handyman, and he doesn't quite like. I'm like, oh my god, I became Johnny Lawrence too. Like, I don't.
Yeah, you're both of these guys. Yeah.
And I'm like watching. I'm like, oh yeah, dude. I guess I could see that, like doing some, because it's like he's doing painting. He's like doing a little. And this is a minor thing, but like to me, this shows you like how smart the writing is in this. So he's doing his handyman thing. At the beginning of the show, he's down on his luck. He's like working for some guy, and he gets fired for telling a lady that she's acting like a bitch.
Yes.
And
she was, obviously.
You just cut to him talking on the phone with his boss. Be like, no, I didn't call her a bitch. I said she was acting like a bitch.
Well, no, she was bitching at me.
Yeah, she was bitching at me.
Sorry.
Yeah, quit. He says, quit bitching at me. Yeah.
Yes.
And I've literally been in that scenario where I've said, like, no, I didn't call you an asshole.
Right.
I said you were acting like an asshole.
Yeah.
And so that, like, but that to me is like a good, well-written thing. But also, when he's being a handyman, he gets electrocuted trying to fix an electrical box. And then later, he's teaching his first student by having him set up the Cobra Kai studio. Yeah. And he points to like a messed up electrical outlet and says, "You're gonna want to fix that. Just be careful." I forget what he says, but be careful. But like they don't hit the joke on the head.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like a nice little like callback to an earlier moment.
Yep.
And you're teaching this kid, but it's like that to me is like a really smart, well done writing.
Absolutely.
But it just like to me like the pilot just moves. It's just like one thing to the next thing to the next thing.
It's riveting. Honestly, you can't take your eyes off it. If you've seen Karate Kid once or know the story at all, like it's so interesting to watch. You just, especially without hearing about the show beforehand and knowing that Johnny's the focus, like it really captivates you from jump.
Yeah.
It really
if I have like one knock is I actually think these guys are like they're too old. Like they really should have been 10 years ago, because when you think like Ralph Macchio is like 58 years old.
Well,
like,
he was older than what he was playing in the.
Yeah, he was always playing. You know, he was. I mean, he's one of those kids.
Well, that's part of it.
But the show still takes place 35 years. Later, dude. Like Ralph Macchio could have a grandchild like competing in like the All Valley tournament, like
in real life.
Yeah, like for him to have like kids that are like 15 and 12.
That makes sense, though.
It does because
stretch. Well, what is he? What is he supposed to be in the Karate Kid 35 years ago? He's supposed to be.
He was supposed
15?
to be 16, 17.
Yeah, 16. Okay, so what's 35 plus 16?
So 51 years old. It's still
exactly. You could absolutely have a 15.
Yeah, but I know 51-year-olds with fucking 30-year-old kids.
Yes, true. But I mean, I don't know, man. I know people that just had their first kid. They're 35. So that's really all it would take.
Yeah. No,
but I see what you're saying. It probably should have been, but I don't think that doesn't really hurt it. What helps a lot is that the actor that played Johnny, what's his name?
William Zabka.
William Zabka didn't do shit after the Karate Kid, really.
Well, he had like I actually looked at his IMDb. He had like a nice little run there where he did Back to School. He played a dick in a bunch of movies. He's in Back to School. He's in just one of the guys. Like he did like all these like 80s like comedies.
Right.
He's got a small part in European Vacation as the boyfriend. He does a small part in Karate Kid Part 2, and then he was on the show The Equalizer. He had like a recurring as like the son. But so he has like a 4 or 5 year window.
Yeah.
Then he directs. I think he won an Oscar for directing a short film.
Really?
Like maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, I did not know
and
that.
I always wonder about these guys because that's another thing too. Like the nostalgia thing is sad. Like if you like are only famous for the thing that you did 35 years ago, it can, and you're going to like fucking like autograph signings.
Yes.
There's been so many things like Galaxy Quest is about. There's a lot of like pop art about like how sad it is to like like you have your catchphrase from 30 years ago and that's all anybody cares about.
Right.
But like for these guys, I'm like, this has got to be so cool. Like, because people, it's not, I don't think like, I mean, not to stereotype, but like the fans of Star Trek are, I feel like the fans of Karate Kid are a little bit less autistic than the fans of Star Trek. So it's a little bit more able to like have a conversation.
Sure.
And I even saw, there was even, so spoiler alert, Kreese, who's the Cobra Kai sensei, comes back to the show at the end of season 1. He's in all of season 2.
Well, you just spoiled it for me.
Well, everybody knows. It's all over the fucking internet.
Yeah,
so there's a video of some, I forget what like online site, but they took him back to the original set of Cobra Kai. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, oh, this poor guy having to like it was like a cool thing. And he's
there's a reason though. It's cool because he's still in something that's relevant. It would be kind of sad if you take him back to the set for like a one-time oh, congratulations, you're back, you know, like, and then nothing comes of it. That would be like if there was no Cobra Kai film. That would be more like nostalgic, sad type thing.
I'm trying to think of like an equivalent right now where it's more like kind of like leave those guys alone. But I think everybody is like, I think it's cool. It's cool. It's not like look at these cool. Poor schlubs like they're like reliving their youth. It's like no, like this is like because it is. It's like in like Creed, the movie Creed as well. It's like they did an homage, but they also created a new thing that you don't even need to like really know the original
to enjoy the movie or the show.
And so the show is really also, it becomes about this like next generation of kids.
Yeah.
Who are, Daniel is very successful.
They do it very well, man. Yeah. I got to say that they nailed too. Like a lot of these shows they're written by 30, 40-year-olds, right? And they're trying to write the life of like a 15-year-old and get it accurate. And they often fail. I mean, really, they often, because kids see right through that shit because they're living this life right now. And whoever, is behind the writing and the production and just like all of that stuff, the directing, They nailed it. Like the pool party in the second or third episode.
Yeah.
It felt like a realistic, my parents are out of town, we're going to throw a pool party at the rich girl's house. Like the kids are, the popular guys are douchey enough. They're douchey like they would be in real life, but not over the top, not like evil. Like, even Karate Kid, the original movie, it's like, I love Karate Kid, but like if you really nobody was ever that evil. Like that, they're so evil. It's like
the thing about that movie is again, it's bar none my favorite movie of all time. It's way better of a movie than it had any business being.
Yes.
So like John G. Avildsen is the guy who directed the original Rocky. Directed it. It's like the cinematography in that movie is unbelievable. Yeah. The music, and there's scenes like my favorite scene is if you go back and like there's a scene where Daniel shows up and Miyagi's drunk.
Yes. Yeah.
And Daniel finds out that Miyagi had been married and his wife had died in complications of birth when he was in the army when he first came to America. And that scene like really humanizes Miyagi because at first you're like, oh, there's just this guy. He's the magical Asian that's going to save the day, but he's not really a human being. He's not really like a three-dimensional character. And that's the scene that I just was having a conversation with a friend of mine because when I was in like acting class, I got picked to like do like an exercise in front of the whole class, and it was supposed to be like about finding like your range, like what's like who you are as an actor and what resonates with you. And so the teacher goes, pick a scene from a movie that really is significant for you. And I said, well, the scene where Mr. Miyagi's drunk from the Karate Kid.
And people, go ahead.
Everybody laughed. And I literally turned to the class and I was like, have you motherfuckers ever seen this movie? And everyone was stunned.
Nice.
And I felt like so out of place because I was like, because all these kids were talking about like Brecht and shit.
Right.
I'm like,
when did you watch that? When did you watch that?
When I was 12, I wanted to be like in movies because of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't fucking read Beckett and
so
go,
if not Karate Kid, something like it,
or Rocky, or something like that.
Or even something that is not in this, type of genre, but would be seen as shallow to these types of people.
But then learning about it, but that led me to learn about Hitchcock and, you know what I mean, and Kubrick and whatever it was. But like no kid's entry point
is Brecht.
Yeah. So whatever it was. Yeah. So I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine who's an actor, who's a successful actor, and a great actor. I really admire him. And every once in a while, his name is Juan Francisco Villa. I'd actually love to
just a shout out to Juan. Yeah.
But he every once in a while he'll message me being like, dude, I watched this Italian movie and it made me think of you, or I found this clip of Stallone on SNL and I sent it to you. And so we were having a conversation and I said that because he's like, oh dude, I'm watching Cobra Kai and it's amazing. And I was like, yeah, and I said that thing about that moment in class and he's like, yeah, we were a bunch of fucking assholes, huh? Yeah. And I was like, it's all right. I was like, I get it now.
Well, that's the thing is like, no, you couldn't have been more right in that moment. It's wise of you to not succumb to the pressure of it's like college-aged intellectualism of like the only good stuff is the obscure stuff.
Yeah.
That is such an easy trap to fall in.
I was also like, when I was in that class, I already felt like insecure about my place. And I was like living at my grandmother's house, and like there was kids who were like, they were hipsters living in Williamsburg. Like this was my first like real exposure to like the cool kids who were like living in Williamsburg and like and I was like, I was still living sort of a square life, but I was going to like acting class.
Yep.
And so I felt like I felt like an outsider. I felt like I didn't belong there. And to top it off, for me to like, be inspired by like Stallone made me even more feel like an outsider. And that's why I identify with Daniel LaRusso.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's a kid who like in another circumstance would be a cool kid.
Right,
and
right. But
probably, and it's also too like, when you're from the East Coast, you're mouthy. Like you're
totally.
So you go to California, and these fucking California dudes are like, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?" And in another circumstance, he would have been the cool kid. And there's a reason why the hot blonde chick likes him.
Totally,
because he is cool.
They kind of set the next kid up like that too. I haven't seen too much. I've seen like 4 episodes.
Well, it's funny,
but he's not really a nerd. He's just in a circumstance where he's a nerd. I mean, well, I guess I don't know if I'm right about that, but it just seems like
it's funny because, and again, this is how well they do this, and maybe it's just because it's also been years and years that have gone by. Like so Johnny meets a kid who's getting picked on, and he intervenes, and like that's how that kid becomes his student.
Yeah.
And then this kid is like, he lives in the same complex as Johnny, single mom. They're Hispanic.
They're like immigrants, yeah.
Yeah, they're not well-to-do, whereas he has a crush on. It's the exact scenario of Karate Kid.
Yep.
But it's done well enough that you're not going, all right, every beat is.
It's not every beat.
A beat from the movie.
No.
And if anything, like another, like the show does have some flashbacks, and it does.
Not too much though.
But I actually think like I could even have less, because I'm like, everyone's memories are not just high school. Do you know what I mean? It's like, these guys, if they lived like their 20s and 30s.
I see what you're saying. They should have some memories from then.
Everything everything doesn't have to be a Easter egg for fans, like fan service.
Yeah.
So maybe as the show like goes on, it'll be less and less. But there is a lot of fan service, but it's again, it's not like hitting you over the head, and you want like. We as fans, we want it.
You want some, definitely. I don't think it. Yeah, maybe it's a little on that side. I haven't noticed that too much, but you're right. That's a good point. Like it's not like they're ever flashing back to their 30s. That literally never happened.
Yeah, it doesn't, like every memory doesn't have to be from the original movie.
Right.
Like it can be, and again, like I feel like if the writers, as the writers get more comfortable writing for these characters, they'll expand on that. It's nice to have the skeleton of the original movie to fall back on.
But it's obviously become a thing of its own. Getting renewed by Netflix is, being one of the #1 things streaming. That's not a small feat. That's huge.
Because in and of itself, it's like it's also like 90210. It's it's a show about teenagers, and you're like following the lives of these teenagers. It's sort of like a teen soap opera.
I fucking I'm a sucker for that shit.
Yeah.
Like a good teen fucking episodic show. I mean, I'll admit it. I love the OC, which sounds awful. It sounds very lame. But honestly, growing up, man, I loved that show. I really did.
See, I'm a little. So for me, like 90210, like I was a little too old for the OC.
That was our 90210.
Yeah.
It literally.
But I've always been, again, as someone who grew up like not financially insecure, but like insecure about how much money my family had versus
wealth.
Sure. I always like went to schools that were like blended.
Yeah,
with like poor kids and rich kids. So if anything,
except for college, but
you go to like a kid's house and you realize like, oh fuck, this kid's got a mansion.
Oh yeah, all of a sudden you didn't know, and you're just like, you have.
And then there was another, another kid that I'm friends with, and like they're clearly very poor.
I know.
And when you're that age, when you're 12 or 15, like you just don't know how to act, like you don't know how to respond to it.
I don't know. I remember when I was young enough, I remember not even really giving a fuck. The only thing I do remember was when I will say in one direction, like if you go to a friend's house and he's got a rich house, he's got, not only does this guy's got a pool, but he's got like a fucking basketball court, a tennis court, like a gazebo, all of a sudden you're like, fuck, man, you live here? And like just being so like I don't know, not even jealous, just more just like blown away. Whereas if you go to a friend's place, and at least for me, and they're like poor, you didn't really like, you still had a good time and you didn't really like care about it. I know that's like a wholesome message, but it's true. It's like that's how I truly felt. Whereas today, if I went to a friend's place and it was a mess and it was like he's obviously, you know, going through rough times, like it would affect me more. I would be more like oh shit, you know, I'd feel bad for him. I didn't have those feelings at 12, you know, like
yeah. I mean, my childhood was like weird in that like we started in inner city and then we moved to country when I was 12. I mean, like again, Daniel LaRusso. So like I always felt out of place. I had an accent. I talked funny.
Yeah.
But I remember just being like, we had this car. It was a '88 Mercury Grand Marquis. The thing was like 20 feet long.
Yeah, those.
It was like it was the last of the cars. It was like the last of the cars before sedans became the size
like
they are
compact.
now.
Yeah.
So it was like the last long. I think the salesman was like, "Let me get these suckers to get this fucking. Let's just get rid of this last
dick idiot."
So it was like one of those cars that kind of rocked when it was on the road, and then the grill fell out. It was like the end of its life, but like my parents were like, "We're gonna drive this car into the ground."
Sure.
Because we got 4 kids and like one of them's about to go to college. So like it got to the point where like the grill was out and like one of the doors didn't open.
Okay.
And so I was like so insecure.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it's funny because my younger siblings, I think like at a certain point, like my parents got like a Lexus SUV.
Yeah, then
I
they're
was like,
good.
you fuckers, like,
Yeah.
is this what you think life is?
For them, it was.
Parents having a nice car?
That's what it was for them.
Not for me.
For Paul and whoever else.
For Paul and Robert. So for me, I was always like that. I had that like class consciousness. And then of course, like going to college, there was like super rich kids that I was like friends with. And, now it's like, now I just think it's funny. Like now people like come to my house and like they can't believe that like my parents like will like feed, like now like the poverty is like kids whose parents don't care if they live or die.
Yes.
Whereas my mom will call me to make sure that she's like, she heard that something happened in New York and she wants to make sure I'm okay. Yeah.
No, it's true. I just, I'll never forget some of those people's houses I went over that were just like the kid, there was a kid in our grade in 7th and 8th grade who he always had the summer pool party because his house was just unreal. And it was just like kind of like better than going to an amusement park. I remember being so like, it was wild that this kid lived here. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it because when you're a kid, you're playing games, you're playing basketball, you're jumping in the pool. Like as an adult, that's not as fun. Like I mean, like it's still great to have a house like that, but like as a fucking 12-year-old with your friends to be at this place, it's like it might as well be heaven. Like
yeah. No, I remember. I definitely had friends where I was like, there was one kid I was a skater and it was a skater kid, and we went to like he was like grimy.
Yeah,
like, I think the first time I met him, like he just didn't like watch, like he was just like
greasy hair. Yeah,
he had like dirt on him, and then we go back to his house, and like literally he wore the same T-shirt every day. Yeah, and gets his house, like that T-shirt's on the floor, but he has his own wing.
Yeah, he has a whole wing. Yeah.
His parents are like not even around. Like he's like has like the pool, and he's just like letting himself.
Just unbelievably high ceilings. Yeah,
you know, like just his whole bedroom is windows looking out on the pool.
They had those stairs that went down and wrapped around. You're like, oh my god. Yeah.
It was just weird. I was always very like conscious because then growing up originally in inner city, it was like the same thing. It was like I went to like basically essentially a magnet school. Yeah. So it was like really very poor kids, but it was also like kids from the rich neighborhood, and we were kind of somewhere in the middle. And I was always just kind of friends with everybody. I think that's why like to this day I'm kind of comfortable with whoever, because I just always had to like hop.
Yeah. No, you could always tell the people that didn't grow up with like people outside their race or outside their class because they just have this air of them that's like, it's usually white people, and they just like, it's uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable.
Like you can drop me like kind of anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas again, like my younger brothers, my brothers were like 1 and 4 when we moved.
Yeah, they don't really.
They grew up in that one area.
Yeah.
So they're like, they don't like New York City. They go like they're, they don't have friends that aren't exactly like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
that's probably painting
that's a little bit generalized, but like, I'm definitely more the one where you could just like drop me either anywhere. In the Bronx or in the woods, and I'll figure it out either way.
Yeah, no, you're pretty versatile like that. I usually check you when you say things that I think are a little like self-aggrandizing. No, but that's true. You're one of those guys. You could start a conversation with anyone anywhere, and it would.
And I don't know LA that well, but
you'd be fine.
Learning like this from this show, it's like it is like if you look at a map of LA, you have like USC is in the fucking hood, and then you have like Encino is not too far from Reseda. Like you have like kind of rich and poor.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I mean, it's got the biggest homeless population in the world. And they have cell phones now. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like there's no class divides there. I mean, you have some of the richest people in the world and some of the poorest people.
Yeah, and I think this show does a good job of showing like how even like in a high school you're gonna have.
Oh, for sure, in a public high school, absolutely.
You don't know who's going through what. But there's like these, like there's like alliances, and there's like the kids who kind of like they stop being friends with somebody because
it's a good story. Even the daughter, who's like a very subplot, but just like how she's got like the fat ugly friend that she grew up with. It's just a classic tale.
Well, she becomes they both become like bigger parts of the show as the show progresses.
All right, you could give it away. I don't care.
No, I mean the show is about like Johnny and Daniel, but it's also about these kids, and like it's about them like learning karate and like be like different rivalries and fighting.
They could have phoned it in on the kids' stories, but they didn't, and that's what makes it. That's one of the reasons it's a watchable show. It's a good watch.
But it's really like William Zabka is a fucking impressive guy. Like I'm just really impressed with. It's just funny too. Like it was making me like I got paid to like mount a TV, and he like there's a scene where he's mounting like that's where he tells the lady she's bitching at him like he's mounting a television and he like makes a mistake. I literally was like in a position where I was like getting paid to do like handiwork in apartments, and I was putting together IKEA furniture, and I started having a meltdown because I had put I did one thing wrong, and then it just cascaded.
Oh no.
So I got to like the end.
I'm not good at that shit, man. Yeah, what happened?
I was good at it until that moment. I literally was like the IKEA.
Had a nervous breakdown.
I had a breakdown. I'm in like some NYU girl. Talk about like class differences. Like this is some girl in a 1-bedroom apartment in the Village
who hired you.
Who hired me to put together a dresser.
Yeah.
I was like a substitute boyfriend. It was like all these girls living alone in the city, and they just needed a guy for $30 an hour.
That's right.
To do all the stuff that their boyfriend would have done. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally, she's like in the other room, and I'm in her bedroom, door closed, quietly melting down.
Yeah.
And the thing that sucked is like with the. I was this TaskRabbit was like the app where you like bid on jobs.
Yeah.
And so for the IKEA furniture, you just bid on the total.
Yeah.
So you're not getting paid by the hour. So like I'm still gonna get paid and I'm still gonna finish a job, but the more time I spend doing it, the less money I'm making
per time. Yeah.
Per hour.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm literally just like quietly just melting in this room. And so like even watching this episode of this show, I was like it made me a little bit uncomfortable in a good way, where I was like, fuck, this is what I gotta do. I gotta start a karate dojo.
It's relatable to you in that way though.
The happy ending to the story is I went across the street and I had a steak sandwich, and I think I was just like iron deficient because immediately eating red meat made me feel
And did you just leave it? You left the dresser
broken?
You did? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I talked to a lady friend, and she like kind of talked me through it, and then I called her later. I was like, listen, I just had a steak sandwich and I feel so much better. She's like, oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you feel better after melting down fucking putting together IKEA furniture.
Oh, man. I definitely could relate to that. I get so frustrated. Putting shit together, following instructions, and then they don't make sense or something doesn't add up is the most frustrated I'll be ever.
Yeah. See, I'm getting handier all the time. And
we're all handy in different ways, though.
Well, I feel better because
I'm
constantly telling myself that I can't do it.
Right.
And so then I just do it. And then there's a moment where you're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to call somebody.
I know.
And
say, as a man, that's a tough moment.
I started to do this thing, but I can't do it. Can you come over here?
Yeah. Okay.
And
can
I like
you just come over here and be a man in front of
me.
And so I
hire you to be
watch,
a man for me?
Yeah. It's really sad. Yeah.
But I mean, that's also kind of like, sort of not. I don't think it's cheesy at all, but like that's the message of this show too. And even in the original movie, it's like when Miyagi's training Daniel karate, and when Johnny is training, what's the kid's name? Miguel. Miguel is his first student in Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Like they're teaching him how to do like regular stuff.
How to be a man.
Fucking man. Which is like this show is like very.
Oh, another thing. I can't believe we didn't bring this up yet. I think you're about to touch on it. Honestly, this show has this great sense of humor about I don't know how to put it, about everything I hate in the world that's out there right now.
Yeah.
PC, gender, 58 genders, what else? Just like people being pussies, basically. Like this show, the fact that it has mainstream success and it is like constantly picking on like that rhetoric, like that whole world of like cancel culture and just like the literally evil. I feel like it's the most evil thing on the planet. The fact that it's making fun of it, calling it out, and just like sticking to its guns while still having a heart. I love it, man.
Yeah. Johnny Lawrence literally tells people to stop being a pussy.
Yes.
Like it's not even subtly hinted at. It's like spelled out. Like this makes you a pussy. Don't be a pussy.
Right. And like you could take it either way. You could be like, oh, that's over the top and like this guy's an idiot, Johnny. But actually, as you keep watching, he's actually right about a lot of the stuff.
It's funny if like you go back and watch like All in the Family. Yeah. Like Archie Bunker is
exactly.
like the racist, and Meathead is supposed to be the young liberal. Yeah. And what they never expected was that Archie Bunker would become the hero. And people would be like, "Fucking, he is a meathead. Tell the young hippie to shut the fuck up."
Well, yeah, and, I mean, but the point is that that's the thing that this kind of culture that's out there kills. Is a show like All in the Family. Like you can't have that show anymore, and that's a tragedy. That's a real just sad thing. Not that particular show, but I just mean that archetype of like.
Well, you can't they don't get any nuance. Like they don't understand that people are complex.
No, everyone's got to come from the same point of view. It's ridiculous.
And sometimes like the guy that you don't like does something great. And sometimes the good guy does something terrible.
Just look at what the reaction is to black cops. I mean, it's unbelievably racist. The main, like the accepted reaction of our peers that are like, very liberal or whatever. They are seriously calling them like Uncle Toms and Coons. I've seen white people on the internet getting away with calling black people that and like getting supported for that. Like it's so that's so racist. You're literally saying by doing something like that, you're saying that a black person has to be expected to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And if they don't fit your narrative for them, that you're gonna call them a race-based name, like that's the most racist thing you can do. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel
sorry.
like
I get so upset.
No. Well, I feel like I've been like stirring shit for 20 years doing this.
I know.
And it's just like people, because I remember being like in college and they'd have some speaker come and she would say some shit and I'd be like, well, what about this person? And she like didn't even like there was it's funny like so there was some woman she was talking about supporting black candidates for Congress or something, and I was like, what about Alan Keyes? And he was like a black conservative, and she's like, well, not him.
Right.
So I was like, oh, so you only want the ones that you like.
That support your narrative. Yeah. And it's like, of course. But just why bring up the fact that we need more black people? Why not just say we need more Democrats? Like, that's what you mean.
Well, it's like when everyone's like, make sure you vote. It's like,
well, I know.
Who are these deadbeats that have to be reminded? Like hold your hand while I take you to the polling station.
It's just, no, it's because they know people are going to be apathetic because the product that they're delivering is dog shit. So they know that voter turnout's not going to be good, and so they pump every year, every election year they do this. They pump billions, I feel like, in ad spend. If not,
well, it's also like
if not billions,
funny.
hundreds of millions.
And again, I've been having these arguments for a long time, and I was very apolitical for a long time.
Yeah,
and then this I got radicalized by the lockdown. But dude, I remember getting into arguments about campaign finance reform with people because the most evil thing in politics was money.
Right.
And it was like, oh my, we have to have campaign finance reform. We have to, like, it's so evil that these people are like able to like donate this money and influence elections. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about campaign finance reform anymore because the last guy won without doing that lobbyist money.
Yep.
But now they're announcing, well, the Democrats raised $100 million,
and they're proud of it.
So I thought money in politics was evil.
Oh,
I
no.
thought money in politics was bad.
Don't you know? It doesn't matter when it fits your story. I mean, the hypocrisy is just ridiculous. It's on both sides, but it's just like the blatant celebrating in the public square that the left gets away with for hypocrisy. Like, they just celebrate hypocrisy. It's so enraging.
I mean, if you happen to control the entire media apparatus, it's
of course, and that's what's enraging about it is that it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't get how. I actually do understand how you get so many people on board, because most people aren't going all the way down the well and supporting every little detail.
No, you're appealing to people's emotions,
right? And I agree with the surface emotions of most of the things that they say.
Yeah,
I am a good person. I would like to accept everybody. I have never had a problem with gay people, trans people, any of these things. I want them to live the fullest life that I could have the opportunity to live. You know, of course, I really emotionally feel that. I mean, not even emotionally. I believe that. You know what I'm saying? But what's so dark about it is they take that emotion and they insert their own, like, you know, in my opinion, bad ideas that have nothing to do with like the well-being of others. And they subvert it in that emotional appeal, and then here's the thing I don't like about conservatives is that they make it so hard to like to say you like them, because and I understand that, like, look, like a conservative approach is going to piss people off, but it's just, I think there's a lot of issues they could take a step back from and easily win this election, but they won't do it.
Well, it's weird, like tying it back to this show, it's like, it's weird that like excellence has become like a
mastery,
like part of like the patriarchy,
right?
You know
Absolutely.
I mean? It's like, because like really when we're saying like don't be a pussy, do stuff, it's like shut up and do the work, and work hard,
right?
And stop crying and try to be excellent, and somehow that's become like politicized.
It's politicized. Effort, manners. Yeah. I mean, all of it.
Because it's so much better to say, well, the system is unfair. And
I heard that. I mean, it got so bad at one point where there was like infographics and memes going around that were basically saying that, like, white culture, American white culture, like people like basically behaving well at dinner and just like having like. Like polite conversations and small talk, that type of thing, was white supremacy, and like it was like the effects of white supremacy or living in a white supremacist culture. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, we're talking about like not being welcoming. Like, this is like a good thing. I don't know. It's wild. I mean, whatever. I don't want to get too down that. We already did. Whatever, and it's my fault. But I love, just the reason why this came up is that I love this show was not afraid, didn't bow down to the easy, you know, Twitter mob.
But it's also like and again, this is a problem with today. Is like, and part of the cancel thing is like, recognize that people of older generations are going to have their ways of talking and doing things. Like, this show recognizes, because like the kids are very much
They're
in
kids
2019 and 2020.
Absolutely.
And you can make jokes about, like, you know, Johnny Lawrence is like the joke is often on him that he doesn't know like this newer stuff that's
really
going
basic
on.
shit like you.
But yeah, but totally. But like it's okay for like the older people don't need to be reprogrammed.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I think a lot of what's happening today is like not only do the young people do this, but now they have to force the people, whoever is quote unquote incorrect or wrong, to change to it. And that to me, I find that very scary. I had a girl that I was friends with.
Yeah.
I kind of did a little like trickery with her. I was like, being like sarcastic and facetious. So I was like, oh, I guess, I need to be reprogrammed because I don't. And she's like, well, actually, yes, I think we. And I was like, she didn't even like understand.
Oh my God.
So I was like, oh, you're just like they used to try to hide it.
I know. They used to be more tolerable because at least they would like, know that something might come across bad.
Yeah, it used to be like, again, when I was like a kid, it was like the classic thing was like, it was like more like it came from like a pussy place where it's like, hey, this really, I don't like this, if it's okay. But now that they feel like they have all this cultural capital,
which they do.
It's like, it's like every story of like when the kids take over and they start like, it's like Children of the Corn, like the kids take over the town and what do they do? They start murdering.
It's absolutely Lord of the Flies. I mean, it's straight up it's the conch shell. Twitter is the conch shell. Did you ever read Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, of course.
It's a brilliant book, and I totally get it now because, it's happening in front of our eyes. The tweet that gets 250,000 likes on a given Tuesday, that person has the conch shell for the day, and it's always one opinion. It's never a Republican or a conservative opinion.
Yeah, and again, I don't even care. What I care about is like there's something very Maoist and about like if you read up on like what like when like Mao and the communists took over China, it's like it was literally like re-educate the intellectuals and the farmers, and like if you are a successful farmer, clearly you are an oppressor.
You're an oppressor.
Why would you be able to be successful except because you took part of the oppressive system that allowed you to be successal? So therefore you should be punished. And now we should have people who don't know how to farm
be the
doing
farmers.
it instead, and then fucking 30 million people starve to death.
What do you know? They can't make food. Yeah.
And again, like this, tying it back to this, it's like if being excellent at something is wrong, well, sign me up. Like I don't care.
I'll be wrong.
I don't want. I'd rather
the attempt at it. Come on. I mean,
I'd rather people be dickheads.
And
good at what they do.
Yes.
Again,
they are dickheads, though. This is the thing. The people advocating for others, like the people advocating for other identities, whatever, all these people, they're the dickheads. It used to be that they were nice about it, but which I could get behind that, honestly.
But it's like if I go to a mechanic, like I don't want him to have the correct opinions. I want him to know how to fix my car.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And if you have like more of this kind of knowledge economy stuff where you don't really, there's not like a real correlation to I'm good at fixing this thing, therefore I'm successful at what I do. Now it's sort of like I wrote a book and a bunch of people think it's a good book, so therefore people are going to listen to what I say until the mob turns on me in a couple months. Because God forbid I'm only 99% pure.
I know.
They're going to kill me for the 1% impurity that I have.
100%.
So that's why it's better to just be like outside of it and say, fuck it.
Yeah.
But,
I agree. But this show is very much outside it and saying, fuck it. It's great. I really, really was surprised. I thought it was going to be more like cookie cutter. We got to play by the rules, but they are just straight. I mean, people that subscribe to all that ideology, they would hate this show. Hate it. They can't watch this shit.
But again, it's like, and there's a reason why I picked the 80s for this podcast. Like, I like these kind of 80s values, and it's like, I always know whether or not I'm gonna like you based on your attitude for this sort of the snobbery against this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because the snobbery is usually like some kind of weakness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's you're usually revealing that
you're over
kind of a puss.
Yeah, there's something, you're masking it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when you make like a mildly political joke on social media, and immediately someone's like, "Well, Trump did something." I'm like, I know you're a puss. Like this is coming from the pussy part of your body. Like I'm not even. I literally there was some like I met some kid like at a couple shows, and I don't even know the kid. Like, and I posted something, and like 3 days later, he said something like I made a joke, and he said something about like white supremacists.
Wonderful.
Which is like not even related to the thing that I said, and I'm like, what part of your pussy made you 3 days later?
Yeah.
Go like what? And I'm like, what am I gonna reply? Like I don't even know what you're saying.
That's the thing. They're so far out of reach. Like you're so not a white supremacist. Like you would never like promote that. It's ridiculous.
It's retarded that it's even a converse. Like
well, that's
it's
the
something
thing.
that
You can't even how are you going to respond to that seriously? Like there's no serious response to that. No, I am not. You're ridiculous.
It's it's like all the disavowal stuff. Like if somebody asked me to disavow white supremacy, I'll be like, I don't even understand like why this is a conversation. Like
it's in what context? Like I would do it, but I would also be suspicious of why I'm being asked, because it's like, wait, are you going to clip this response and just like say I did it wrong or something? Because I disavow white supremacy, but what is this context you're asking me?
Did I ever tell you about when I did, like, I got asked to do a show, and the show was basically set up to like make fun of white people.
Of course,
so I did it. I was like, is this what I think this is? Am I like supposed to be the joke? And I went in like my thing is always like, oh, you think I'm gonna be the joke? just wait, because someone else might have been like, you know what, I'm not doing this. Is bullshit. But my thing is like, let's see if I can fuck this up a little bit. Yeah. So they actually like had me. It was so weird.
You told me this story.
Yeah,
with the legs and stuff.
Yeah, like washing your legs.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, I was like,
white people don't wash their legs.
You just like wait for the soap to run down, and everyone's like,
very funny. I mean, that is very funny. I mean, I got to be honest. I love that. That's
funny. But then I said like something. I said you people.
Oh no!
And then, but it was a very innocent you people.
Oh no! I know.
And everyone was like, and I was like, you people know what I mean.
Like, ooh, that's tough.
To me, that's way more fun.
Of course.
Some of this.
And look, make fun of white people all you want. I love making fun of white people. I'm not saying that's
nonstop.
Yeah. I'm just saying I agree with you about that question of disavowing white supremacy. It's like, well, that question is it's insulting. There's something about it that is like an accusation in the question.
Of course.
Like you're asking me because you think I promote it.
You're hoping I
don't.
You're hoping I'll trip up.
Or you're just hoping that they would say, why would you trip over that?
You're
That's
hoping that I'll
say
question. Something awkward, and then they can just cut the clip of the awkward part.
Yeah, but they're just asking. Sure, they are. But it's also just like the question in and of itself. Just the question assumes that it's a question for me, which is insulting. It really is. Like I don't know. I would be insulted if someone asked me to. I would think it was a joke. You know, I just wouldn't be able to take it seriously.
That being said, it is a little weird that there's no Asians in a show about karate.
Is there none?
Well, no. The one guy who's a bully, interest. But like he's an Asian kid who doesn't seem to know what's. But he doesn't seem to know what sushi. Oh no, you didn't see the second episode.
I did.
He doesn't seem to know what sushi was.
Yeah.
It's one thing to not like sushi, but
he was an Americanized Asian guy.
I know, but like he's never. He was like he never heard of it. Like it's never come up before.
That was a weird scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this like Pat Morita, rest in peace. It would be interesting to see if he was like involved. Like three of the major guys in the making of Karate Kid are Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi.
Yep.
John G. Alvison, who's the director.
Yep.
And Jerry Weintraub, who was the producer who basically put the movie together. All three of those guys passed away relatively young. So it'd be like, so this is like, again, this is like an homage with none of those guys involved. And you can go back and watch like audition tapes and stuff on YouTube. Because John G. Alvison would actually, when he did rehearsals, he actually shot the rehearsals as a movie. So he would do like a VHS. So they actually
cool.
like it's on YouTube. You could actually watch the entire movie.
That's dope.
In rehearsals as on like basically on VHS. But he's also like the screen test for Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio are on there, and they're fucking
that's
amazing. Because I mean, Pat Morita was a comedian.
Yeah.
And specifically, they didn't want him because they didn't want a comedian. But like Ralph Macchio, like there's something about him where he's become such a nice guy.
Right.
That it's like he's become a less good actor.
Yep.
As he's gotten older, because as a young actor, he's fucking great.
He was really good.
I don't know if you've ever seen The Outsiders.
Yes, I have. Yeah,
I mean,
great.
Unbelievable. Like a year before or a year later than this, like he's like carrying movies. He's like this skinny fucking Italian kid, but he's so good. But like he's had such a blessed life.
It's too easy.
I feel like he can't. Yeah. They even made like a parody like sketch where it's like where he tries to be like a badass and he just can't do it.
Yeah.
But whereas William Zabka very much has some grime and some years on him.
That's the thing. There's a reality to the show because he is kind of a washed up actor. It comes across. I don't know. If he's not really that, he's doing an amazing job looking like he's actually.
It's not as heavy and as monumental as Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, but like it's kind of the same idea.
It is the same idea.
A guy like
you're right.
80s pretty Mickey Rourke can't do that role.
Exactly.
But 55-year-old life's been kicking my ass Mickey Rourke is fucking amazing.
Exactly.
And William Zabka, like I don't know what's been happening to him, but like he's definitely able to like draw from.
Now he is. You're right. He's able to draw from his life.
There's a gravity to that performance that's really good.
100%.
But also 100%. Funny. Like the show is really funny.
Dude, I'm just happy for everyone involved. It's so good. It's a real success, honestly. And it's one of those surprising things where it's like you just see it on paper, you're like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
This is gonna fucking suck. Not the idea of like having Johnny. I'm just saying you just hear, oh, they're making a TV show out of Karate Kid. You're like, oh, they're gonna ruin it.
It could suck in a way that would like ruin legacies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
And it's funny because like there's always these arguments. Like I love film Twitter, but like people like will have arguments about like the timeline of the Terminator movies.
Sure, yeah.
And if it makes sense for like 60-year-old Schwarzenegger to go back to, and I was like, this is how I deal with this. I don't watch anything past the first two Terminators. So I don't care what the timeline, I don't care about the plot holes.
Right.
Like, because I just stop with that stuff. Like, I don't watch any of I don't want to see old man fucking Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I don't want to see old Bruce Willis doing Die Hards anymore. Like, and again, Creed was another one that surprised me, but like, if in Creed, fucking Rocky Balboa fought for the heavyweight championship, I would have cried. Like, what's great about that movie is that he became the old man coaching the next guy. It's like, you have to be able to let go a little bit. And
that's an archetypal story, man. That's, absolutely.
Well, that's where this stuff gets sad with this nostalgia is when they can't let go.
Yes.
And even this, it's like these characters, like they're dads, and they're trying to figure out how to be like. One of the things like I always wanted, like, and I have a dad, but I didn't necessarily get along with my dad growing up, and that's mostly my fault. And I just like because my brothers, I think I didn't do the things that my dad wanted to do. Just because.
I see.
But then also, like, I did have different interests. And when you're the oldest child and you're the weird kid, it's even harder because your dad wants you to be the one that's under his wing. So when it's like your third sibling is the one that's under dad's wing, it's weird for you as the older child. So I always wanted, like, a Mr. Miyagi. And I always wanted to learn karate. But, like, this show is a lot about how hard it is to be a dad.
Yep.
Like both of them, both characters are trying to figure it out.
Yep.
And there's a lot of reversal of, again, not to spoil it, but I feel like a lot of people have seen this. Johnny's estranged from his son, and Daniel starts teaching Johnny's son karate. and like there's kind of a love triangle between the two karate students and Daniel's daughter. A lot of this show is it's really fucking hard to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know this from experience, but I see it, and I've been a son, and I have a lot of friends, and I'm you know, especially now, and especially with like how like if you go back and watch like to me like if you watch like what's the show with fucking Fred Savage, the one where it's like
Wonder Years.
If you watch Wonder Years, like that's the dad on TV, right?
Right.
He comes home from work, he's angry.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything.
He takes this paper, eats the crumb cake.
Yeah. That's like my grandfather. That was my grandfather. Now dads like have to like.
Oh my God! Being a dad back then was a joke.
Yeah.
It was so easy.
You were expected not even to talk to your kids.
No. Yeah.
That was the mom's job.
He's tired from work.
And now dads have to like go to like fucking like tournaments and like my dad never came to like any of that shit.
Nah.
Like.
Yeah.
I was working on a joke like years ago where it was like when I was a kid and my dad came home from work, like I brought him a beer.
Yeah,
like, that was his reward for like a hard day's work. Is your son brings you a beer? Mm-hmm. Now dads like make beer, like
they have to like they come home, they have their home brewery.
Yeah, they've been microbrewing, like
they pull beer out of the earth somehow. They just
so like dads are like weirder now, but it's like in a way it's harder because
for sure
they're trying to figure it out. So like another thing that I haven't heard really spoken about with this show is the show is really about like two dads trying to figure it out.
Yeah, like a
modern. And I think that's a great, like, again, like, give me a simple premise and a couple of, characters that I really enjoy.
That's it.
And you have the recipe for a fucking great show. And that's
it really is simple. I love this. Do you think we're gonna do more of this? Like we kind of focused on the beginning. I think we did a good job focusing on the beginning. Do you think we should go into?
Yeah, I mean, we could do like the season, like up to the season finale, because I think that's
okay.
This show, like, that's another thing too, is that. Dude, the end of season 2 is bananas. Like I don't even want to like they do something.
Don't spoil it for me.
Like they do something that like it's just like a huge like set piece that you would not expect from a 30-minute long TV show. And they pull it off. I think like this show builds to like an ending of season 1 that's great. And then the whole like there's an arc to the whole season that's really well done. So
all right, this is what we'll do. I'll finish season 1, and then at the next time we do this, we'll talk about the ending of season 1 and then heading into season 2.
Yeah, and then maybe
we could do 2. Yeah,
season 2. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I think we could break it up like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that
that you wanted to say about it.
No, I think
I hit everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I literally hit every single one of my notes.
Good.
I literally have notes: TaskRabbit meltdown, low in iron, quit bitching at me, hanging TVs. Like this is all the shit that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Johnny Lawrence having a couple days from hell. Like again, that's a great like. Dude, all this prestige TV. There's some shows that I really get into, and some I don't. And it's just like, I don't know when TV became like 87 characters.
I know.
And all these complicated like story arcs.
Yeah.
Like this, the pilot of this show is this guy's having a day from hell. Yep. And he gets into a scenario where he like defends this kid, and the kid kind of reminds him of his youth. And now he like refines his purpose.
Yep.
That's 30 minutes. Bang.
Perfect.
What?
Oh, you just froze out. We were doing so good, Peter. Oh man, I think he crapped out. Well, guys, we're gonna stare at Peter here. Let you have a look at this wonderful face. That was it though. That was Cobra Kai. We're definitely gonna do a season 1 comprehensive episode, a season 1 ending, and then we'll do probably a season 2 episode of Cobra Kai. This was sort of the introduction and also, a little bit of the pilot and beyond. But yeah, check it out. Leave a comment. Did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy the show? Do you like Karate Kid? Let us know. Leave a review if you want, if you're feeling saucy. And yeah, have a good one, folks. Peace out.